This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking about how to exit stage left one day. This week on The Roadmap, I'm joined by my special friend, my amazing friend, Michelle Taylor Willis. Michelle, welcome.
I love it. Special and amazing.
It's true. You can't go wrong with that. But it's true. It's you. I'm just reacting to your energy, and you're back on track today.
Well, listen, I'm back. I love being here. First of all, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you for saying nice things.
Well, we're going to get into maybe some questionable things later.
Let's do it.
But let's start out high, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
But, Michelle, I've known you for some time, and we talk about the word diversity because you have so many different businesses out there. You're involved in so many things. But your main focus since 2015 is a company called Gagnant.
That's right, Gagnant
so that,
Media.
Everything falls into that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So Gagnant Media is basically, it's a sales organization, right? I tell people all the time, everything is a sales organization. It's just a matter of what you're selling, right? But we sell ads. We sell ads and we create ads for small businesses, right? 350,000 to 6-7 million is kind of our niche, right? And our goal is to be able to give small businesses the opportunity to get in front of their customers where they might not normally have that opportunity, right? So we do that through luxury print and a magazine, TV, radio, and billboards.
I love how humble you are, and I have to call you out. Small businesses, but you said, hey, I just finished invoicing Walmart?
Walgreens.
So Walgreens, pardon me.
Yeah, but that was on the personal side.
But everything you do is wrapped together, is that right?
Yeah, so it's weird. It kind of feeds together. And when I was in business consulting a lot, I used to talk about this, right? About how everything, really, we can create our own referral sources, right? So when I was in medical consulting, a medical consulting company, and then as I found these other pieces that I needed tables and equipment. So I created a business around it so I could buy for myself, right? We worked with labs. So I got into the lab business so I could, you know what I mean? So I basically created like this internal referral source, right? If I was spending too much money somewhere else, I'm like, let me create a company so I can buy it for myself, right? And so that's the same thing in the media piece, right? Like everything works together. So I have that TV show where we sell ads, but I'm the face of the TV show, according to Michelle, right? So I'm a media personality on my TV show that I'm selling ads for your company. Does that make sense?
Well, and what makes sense to me, and I tell our listeners out there, cross-pollination, organic growth. She's writing the book on this right now in front of you. Just lean in closer to your computer or TV or whatever you're watching this on. Cross-pollination, organic growth. You just see the opportunities and you build around it.
That's
Is that
exactly
correct?
Right, yeah. And sometimes, like if you do it rightly, I think, or I don't think I know, it becomes, it's organic, like it's truly organic because it just starts happening and stuff just falls in your lap. Like when you're working in your space, right? When you're working in an element that was built for you, your purpose, your passion, your divine, whatever that is, stuff just starts falling in your lap and it really will just start working for you.
Well, first off, take no credit away from yourself. It doesn't fall in your lap if you don't put the energy out there.
Absolutely.
And just sitting here, even for a few minutes, and you can feel the energy across the airwaves right now.
Good. I hope y'all can feel. Can y'all feel it?
Absolutely. I can, and I'm sure they can as well. But what I love talking to successful entrepreneurs about, which is so interesting, is things just fall in your lap, you say, right? That's not really true.
I mean, that's right.
Well, let me argue with you. That's
right.
not true. And we're going to talk a little bit about you coming into studio today.
Yeah.
And I saw, hey, there was something going on, right? You were under some stress, right? Good and bad falls in your lap. But I do agree with you that things do come to you when you're putting out that energy and creating an environment. But it isn't that easy. You have to create a successful environment. Can you elaborate on coming into studio today, dealing with some stresses? Because people out there go, oh, it's so easy for Michelle. Look, it's just happening for her. Quite possibly not the case.
Oh my gosh, no. And when I say it falls in your lap, and when I say it's easy, I just mean it might be easier than if you're working outside of your space, right?
Of course.
And even then, you're going to hit roadblocks. So today, for example, and this is a message, if you're building a business or in business, or even if you're working in corporate, I tell everybody, document everything. And in business, texting is not documenting. I mean, I know you can copy and paste and you can forward it and do whatever, but email, there's such a thing as email threads, and making sure you document between you and the client internally or externally. Because everything's good until it's not. Until somebody accuses you of not doing what you say you're going to do. But how vindicating is it when you can go back and say, oh, I didn't say that? Oh, no, that's fine. Let me go and just pull this email string so we can talk about what I said and what I didn't say, or what my staff said or wrote or didn't, right? And so these are the things nobody talks about, right? Yeah, it looks like, yeah, all these things are great and the company's growing and blah, blah, blah. And it is all those things, but it's not without an upset client from time to time. And you having to, as an owner or as a leader or as a manager, you having to defend your people and defend your staff and leaning into your people and knowing that they're good enough, that they are who they say they are, so you can fight battles for them.
I think you're 1,000% correct, and you're exactly right. Leaning in and getting documentation is important.
Oh my gosh.
One of the most important things, other than vindication, it also creates a level of loyalty and trust from that customer, because if you say something and you can prove it via email,
that's right,
you're not rubbing it in there. I'm sure you're not calling laughing at clients.
Absolutely not.
But does it build a layer of trust?
And professionalism, right? Like if you want to build, again, we talk about building for exit, right? Or building for mergers and acquisitions, right? Whatever it is, you have to be able to show that you're doing good business. And documentation is just good business.
So what was the problem? You don't have to go into the details, but you're talking to your own people. Yeah. They're maybe not following suit for you the way that you want it to be operated in. How many times do you go over that with your staff? Any recommendations for listeners out there that are running into a similar issue where, hey, I want things to run a certain way, but it's not exactly running the way I want it to run?
So I think there's an expectation when you hire people. I tell people all the time, vision, mission. You hire against your vision and mission. You fire against your vision and mission. You bring people into your company, internally or externally, clients, internal, external, right? According to how you say your business is going to be run. Your vision and your mission do that. If you don't have a vision and mission written down and made plain, then it's very hard to hold yourself or your internal, external customers accountable to that. So that's the first thing. There's an expectation. Does that make sense?
Listen, expectation, happiness is all about expectation. Because if you have an expectation of something and it falls short, you're going to be unhappy. And if it exceeds it, you're going to be very, very happy. So I agree with you. Expectations create the world. So talk about this. You've had this business since 2015.
Yes.
And you're really leaning in. We talked about your growth to a possible exit, which could be 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road.
Yeah,
as you're going down this roadmap and this journey, what is the roadmap for your next 5 to 7 years to grow this so you can maximize your enterprise value and really, really create the entity that you want?
Wow, that's a great question. So the first thing is positioning. And we talked a little bit about this off camera, right? But good business, like doing good business. And I don't mean doing good business like what it looks like, but like what's on paper, what's documented. And documentation isn't just the communication piece, but just your business, right? Your P&Ls and your balance sheets and like keeping track of all of these things and making sure that somebody's accountable to do that, right? But good, like establishing the business as a good business.
Sure, good business practices.
Good business practices, right? And having those written down. Like not in my head, not in my director of operations
not on a text
head,
back and forth.
Not on a text back and forth, but like this is the process for this. This
so
is
once
how we
you
do this,
once you
right?
establish that and build that foundation of your quality business practices, what are the next floors of the house that you build? How do you plan that for your growth?
So there's an execution against those processes, right? So you're hiring the people that can execute against the process. And again, everybody understands the vision. Right? So once you set the expectation, you know what you're doing, you hire people, you write it down, you hire people to help you write more down, right? So there's this growth and this scaling piece. And I think sometimes people use the term growing and scaling interchangeably, and they're not, as you know, right?
Absolutely. Can you elaborate on that? Talk about that and show the distinction.
Yeah, so when I think about growing and scaling, I think about growing in terms of like what I can do internally without really needing a whole lot of outside help.
Okay.
Really outside funding, right? If I want to get really specific, right? But what can we do without having to bring on other people or on other money to get to the next level? Like that's scaling to me. Growing is, hey, we sold some more this month. Hey, we're selling more this month. Like over the next 6 months, we want to, instead of selling this, we want to sell this. We want to increase by 20% or 30% or whatever that is. We're growing as a company with what we have, right? Scaling is, holy crap, I need to hire 10 people. I can't do it.
So you're going proportionally with scaling. Is it proportional? Do you find it to be in a proportional sense?
So I think that's a great question. Sometimes and sometimes not.
Go ahead,
right?
Elaborate.
Yeah, because again, to use the example I just said, we might not be growing to the point where we need to hire 10 people, but we can see that our growth is on the trajectory to where we're going to need 10 people in order to hit the number we want to hit. So like for me, here's a great example. I had a learning moment because I put a number out to my team one year. And I was like, this is what I want to do that year. And when I took it to my financial guys, they were like, how do you think you're going to do that with what?
Was there that long of a pause? Did they
No,
stare at
like
you and
literally.
pause?
Yeah, well, it was more of a side because I was on the phone with my,
Fair.
And I was like, this is the number I'm looking at as I was planning to go into the next, the meeting, the annual meeting that we have. And I have a fractional CFO. And I told him, and then a wealth building guy that we use for the business. And they both were like, I'm trying to figure out how you think you're going to get to that number with what you have now. And they challenged me, especially my financial guy, my wealth building guy. He said, I want you to look at your profit centers and look historically what your profit centers have been able to do. And do you really think, based on what you have now and what you've been able to do, you can hit that number? If you can, you're going to have to look and see exactly what you can add, in terms of maybe product or service. But really, in order to hit that number, would you have to do something different? Would you have to create another profit center that makes sense in your company to be able to, because that's a big number. Not saying you can't hit it, just saying, I don't know if you can hit it with what you have on these line items right
So what you're saying is,
does that make sense?
Very much so, and you surround yourself with people that challenge you.
Oh my God.
They're just not going to yes you up and down.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Well, that's the most important thing. We talk all the time about surrounding yourself with not yes people or living in an echo chamber, but surround yourself with people that do challenge you and ask you questions just like that.
Yeah.
So, you did have a real...
And I had to change.
And you had to change. So what did you do?
So I literally had to go and I had to dig into that. Right? I had to look at those line items and say, and I'll never forget this, my guy, Harvey, he said, what can you do with these 4 line items? Because these are the ones that brought the biggest amount of money. He said, what can you add to this that makes sense with what you're doing? He's like, you always create this internal referral, right? What can you add to what you're doing that makes sense, that can help you increase your revenue number?
Did you come up with that answer?
Absolutely. That's why we're actually doing more production, right?
So you went back and reflected. So, one of the things, and our time flies as we're having fun, but we're not done. We're not done, but we're wrapping up. And, one of the questions I always ask is, for the scaling and growing as you build this enterprise value of this entire firm you have, what is the largest piece of advice you can give entrepreneurs out there? And you've kind of given it here at the end, where you had a team of people that were not just yes people to you. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? They challenged you, but then what did you do with that information? I want you to elaborate on that. So get people to give you information, but you started to say you're executing on that.
You execute on it, right? So, excuse me, if you have people around you that you trust, right? Because you're not gonna pull people around you that you don't trust. Here's what I say, and I used to close my radio show with this every week. Find out what your purpose is on this earth. Find out why God put you on the earth, what that passion is. Figure out a way to monetize it. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, like in ways and
Can I
lanes,
yell out hallelujah right now as you're preaching? I like this.
In ways and lanes that you are not. Literally. And the world will be your oyster. I say that like all the time.
Well, it hit me when you said, find what you're passionate about.
Yep.
And then find a way to monetize it. You know what? You still got to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
You want to be passionate, but you've got to make some money to pay those bills.
Absolutely. And people say passion doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't pay the bills if you treat it like a passion or a hobby. No, it's not going to pay the bills.
So true.
But if you treat it like a business and you vision, mission, business plan, budgets, pro formas, hiring, firing, expectations, processes, and scaling, and growing, and then your passion pays the bills.
Listen, time is flying. Absolutely, time has flown by.
Do you agree with me though? You're an
1000%.
expert. You're an expert at this is what you do. Is this right?
So first off, this is so right. I'm going to ask you to look into the camera because more importantly, it takes this kind of experience for me to see you again. It's been too long. You know that. So the 15 minutes pre-show was too short for me. This was too short. And for our listeners out there, I guarantee you this is too short. So if people want to get in touch with you and need to make it longer, tell us how we get in touch with you.
All right, so you can find me on just about everything at Michelle Taylor Willis. My website for the media company is Gagnant Media. It's Gagnant, gagnomedia.com. It looks like Gagnant, but it's pronounced Gagnant. That means the winner in French, which you are. And then mtwofficial.com is my website.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't seen it or figured it out, authenticity is the same. MTW equals authenticity to me. You're going to get a straight shooter right here. There's no question. We need more time together. You know that.
Can I come back?
100%.
Okay.
Maybe come back and co-host it next to me and we ask some other
that'd
questions.
be awesome. I love hosting.
I would love to do
you know
that.
That's what
perfect.
I do for a living.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
Listen,
me.
I recommend grabbing Michelle. No question about it. Follow her links. Go find her. I hope the show was insightful for you. I always say that, but I know it was. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Lee Heisman. Stay tuned for another week next week for another episode of The Roadmap exclusively here on ASBN.com.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman. This has been a JBF Business Media production.